I was one of about 30 or 40 people that helped organise and publicise the first ever Gay Pride Parade in Britain, which took place in London in July 1972. We were very uncertain about who'd turn up, if anyone. In those days, most LGBT people were in the closet. They weren't open about their sexuality. They wouldn't dare show their faces publicly. Plus, many people felt there was a threat of violence from members of the public or even the possibility of arrest by the police. We were pleasantly surprised that nearly 1,000 people turned out on that first Pride Parade, which has had very much a carnival atmosphere, but also a very strong political message about human rights and equality as well. I'd say in terms of public reactions, it roughly divided. About a third of the public were quite viciously hostile. We had coins and bottles thrown at us, all kinds of outrageous, abusive insults. But there was another third who just gawped in amazement. They were just dumbfounded that gay people would dare show their faces. But they weren't hostile. The other third were actually supportive. That really surprised us. More people than we expected were supportive. They cheered and clapped. They said, "Good on you." That was very, very encouraging. But the police presence was another thing. There was almost a police officer for every single marcher. They hemmed us in. Some officers openly shouted homophobic abuse at us. Of course, in those days, there was no redress. The police could get away with it. They treated us like criminals. And of course, in those days, in many aspects of gay life, we're still criminalised. There'd been a partial decriminalisation of homosexuality in 1967, but in the years afterwards, the number of gay and bisexual men convicted for consenting behaviour increased by nearly 400%. There was a real police witch hunt, and that was reflected in the way that we were treated by the police on that parade. But we didn't let that dampen our spirits. We were joyful and defiant, and we did that march, we celebrated, we finished off with a gay day, a picnic in Hyde Park, where we played party games, like spin the bottle and oranges and lemons, all given with a queer twist, of course. We kissed in defiance, and I can remember looking at the police, and there were just lines of police, not exactly surrounding us, they were standing a distance back with their arms folded, looking very, very aggressive and hostile. But they didn't dare arrest us because there were so many. But we were afraid of being arrested, because in those days, kissing in public between people of the same sex was regarded as a criminal offence. And you could be arrested, fined, taken to court, convicted and fined, or even possibly jailed. How things have changed. What an amazing trajectory we've been on, where over the years, Pride has grown and grown and grown. Right up until 1987, it never reached beyond 15,000 people. But then in 1988, the Conservative government passed Section 28, which prohibited the so-called promotion of homosexuality and the promotion of same-sex relationships as, quote, a pretended family relationship. Well, that was the bomb under Gay Pride. That motivated many people who'd never ever attended, who never dared show their face, to come out. So that year, Pride jumped from 15,000 to 30,000, and it's been growing ever since. I think probably the heyday was in the late 1990s, when there were about 100,000 people or more on the march. Sometimes it took 5 or 6 hours to pass a single point. That's how big it was. And of course, in the days when it was on Clapham Common, something like 300,000 people attended the LGBT Pride Festival. 300,000. Even these days in Trafalgar Square, we don't match that. But hey, we are in Trafalgar Square this year, as in years previous, and the square will be filled, and there'll be some great speakers, plus entertainment from singers and performers. It's going to be a really great day. A great day, but also a somber day, because we'll be remembering the victims in Orlando, and indeed all the victims of homophobic violence in Britain and around the world. Just to give you a snapshot, here in London, there are hundreds of homophobic incidents every year, still in 2015, 2016. In little tiny Honduras in Central America, last year, 37 gay rights campaigners were assassinated by right-wing death squads. That gives you a flavour of the battles we've yet to win. So great progress, but more work to be done. And from my own foundation, we'll be marching there in solidarity with the Muslim community against all hate, but also challenging Muslim homophobia and standing in defence of LGBT Muslims who are often victimised by members of their own Muslim community.